Live from the Colorado Festival of Horror, Smurf here, and I have the privilege of talking to one of the greatest writers, movie makers, pop culture envisionists. How about that?
Oh my God, my ego just got a little larger.
Ladies and
All of
gentlemen,
the above.
G. Larry Butler. I am a huge fan, and when I didn't even know you were going to be a guest when we first doing this, I never thought we'd get you, and when you just kind of like I don't know how you fell into our lap, but thank you so much. Are you having a good time so far?
Oh, so far, I just still finding my way around.
It is a bit expansive, and it's a little nuts down there right now as everybody's loading in. So what's new? What's going on?
Oh my God, too much. I just, for every year older I get, for every new wrinkle, I get another job. And so I started, way back in the 80s.
Right.
And before most of you were born. And now
I was around.
Anyway, well, some of you were around. But lately it's just overwhelming. I'm in the middle of 4 different projects, actually 4 independent movies and a TV series called Winning Time from HBO.
What's it like working for Hobo?
Well, it was kind of a miracle. It just fell into my lap. They wanted a guy named Johnny Most. That's who I auditioned for.
Okay.
He kind of talks like this. He's from Boston.
Okay.
And very gravelly, whiskey voice. And I thought, well, I do voiceovers. I do a lot of anime. And so I could do that. That was the easy part. And then he's very, he has a lot of mannerisms, especially, he must be half Italian.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Boston, it's a good chance.
Yeah. So I got that down because I'm pretty expansive too. And so the hardest part was memorizing his speeches.
Right.
Once I did that, and he's known for it, I had to check him out on the web.
Okay.
And see some of his interviews and stuff, and some of his famous speeches when they won by 1 point the World Championship.
Right.
Oh my God! As soon as I nailed that, my agent called me a week later. She said, "Are you sitting down?" She said, "They want you. You don't even have to audition again. You got it on the first read." The biggest casting director in town is Francine Maisley. She loved you. It's like, oh my God. So, when I went on set, there was Adrian Brody and Michael Chiklis, Jason Segel, and I was getting pictures with everybody. Like,
so did you get a little starstruck? I mean, were you kind of just like...
Well,
I mean, Chiklis is... I love Chiklis, especially with, what was it, The Shield? The cop show that he was. I mean, step aside, of course, him being, The Thing.
Yes.
But, I mean, his work is just phenomenal.
I know. I was a little bit starstruck, like you said, but not as much as somebody else I'll mention in a minute. But I talked to him, and he said, "You're Johnny Most, huh? Okay, do Johnny Most." But, "Everybody thinks I'm the biggest jerk of the week, but they're the real jerks. Those real bastards." And I went on, and he said, "You're Johnny Most." And I knew Johnny Most. And so I said, we worked together in Eagle Eye years ago.
Right.
I was too timid to ask you for a picture. So I'm asking now. I said, "Okay." He said, "Absolutely." So there's a picture of him, and he's just doing one of these.
Nice.
I thought, oh God, yeah, I can die now. And then Adrian Brody, I got a picture with him, and Jason Segel too. And somebody was saying, "You shouldn't be doing that,"
Why
And I said,
not?
"I'm 72 years old. My God, when am I
shit.
ever going to get a chance?"
Exactly.
So I don't care if they say no, but I'm at least, if you don't ask, the answer is no. It's a hard no, right?
Yeah.
So I thought, I'm going to ask. So they were all very gracious about it. Only Adrian Brody said, "Do not post this just yet."
No, well, yeah, I could.
Seriously, and of course I knew that.
Yeah.
Yes. So anyway, it was a lot of fun to do, and they surprised me when I was in the middle of doing it, because I only had like about 5 or 6 lines throughout the whole thing, and so they surprised me with 2-page dialogue or monologues.
Right.
And they said, "Can you do this?" And I went, "Yes." "How much time do I have to learn it?" "Oh, about 10 minutes. Like, we have cue cards.
Okay.
So they had this gigantic cue card.
Right.
One at far court, one in half court. And they said, "We want you to start here and play it like you're following the action." So I've used cue cards before and teleprompters. I'm really good at it.
Right.
Because I don't read from left to right. That's the trick. You go down the middle. So I did the whole thing, and 400 extras behind me stood up and gave me a standing O. And I thought, oh my God, I was so embarrassed.
What do you mean? Why
I
are you
made a mistake,
embarrassed?
though. I didn't turn around and acknowledge it. And somebody said, why did you just insulted 400 people? So people came later and they said, we knew Johnny Most. And my God, you are Johnny Most. You're channeling him. It's like, God, that's the biggest compliment.
That is a huge compliment.
Oh, God. But then, a month later, I worked with Julia Roberts in Gaslit. I mean, that's when I got starstruck. So
You know when she enters into a room, that is for sure.
oh my God. And she's like right across from me. I'm touching her. I'm eye to eye. I'm
Right.
a doctor. It's like, Jesus Christ,
Thank you, God.
That was when I really got starstruck. And I got all my lines out, thank God.
No, that's nice. So what was your first work in the 80s? Because I was researching and I was trying to think of it myself. And I was coming up with a blank.
Well,
What was the
got 'em
first
right
thing in the
here.
80s? So look at that. You
do.
came prepared.
Well, I
See,
mean-
guys, this is how you do a proper interview. They come prepared to help you.
Just in case you needed it.
Oh, look at this. Here we go.
So you can quiz me on that.
Yes.
But it started out, like I'm a featured extra, like everybody else.
course.
Worked with Kevin Costner, Ray
That's right. You
Dunshon,
were. Okay.
in the bicycle movie.
Yep.
So, what was the name of it again?
So you got Hook, which basketball game attendee.
But here's the stuff I did in Denver. These here. And then I followed up with Richard Chamberlain on Dream West. I played his cavalry officer, rode John Wayne's horse. Then I was with John Denver and another one
Rock
called
Mountain High.
Christmas Gift. And then I worked with John Ritter and Prison of Children. And then I got the biggest game in town. The Warner Brothers came in with Women's Club.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a newbie. I was just right out of the box. And they cast me in a co-starring role with Maude Adams from Octopussy,
Right.
Michael Pare from Streets of Fire, Eddie Velez from A-Team. It was just the four of us. And it's like, I couldn't believe it. It just blew my mind. And on the strength of that, I went to Hollywood, which was my big
That's the
mistake.
downfall.
So you go from a big frog in a small pond to a big pond, and you're a small frog. And so, I did okay, but I could have done better had I waited a little longer. My agent wanted me to wait because I was a little more slick. But anyway,
Season.
I survived.
Little more season.
Yeah, she told me, you're not slick enough. You'll never make it. But anyway, so
Working with John Ritter, who I'm a huge fan of John Ritter, I hear he was like one of the most genuine and happiest people to work with. What was your interactions and how much were you on him on
I made a
screen?
mistake, and I must admit it. He was eating lunch, and I asked him if I could get a
Oh.
picture. So he was not the happiest person with me. But no, I'm sure he's a very happy guy. But it's my mistake. But anyway, it was a great. And I just found out. I always thought that I worked with somebody else, but it's actually. It was a Josh. God, and now I can't remember his name. He's all over the place. Barbara Streisand is married to a man named. And it's his son, and I forgot to put his name down there, unfortunately. But
Sure, I'll go with you on that one. I don't know.
He was in Country for Old Men or something like that. Well, anyway, it doesn't matter.
New Country for Old Men.
New Country for Old Men. He was
Not Eastwood. It's
Huh? The Club Friends.
yeah.
So anyway, I don't want to waste your time.
No, you're
But
good.
Look
I
it
get
up
it.
on IMDb.
No, that's great.
And
Richard Chamberlain. I mean, good God, Kevin Costner, and then of course Doc Hollywood. So that's Michael J. Fox.
I skipped one. Raymond Burr, and I actually acted with him, and Robert Guillaume too. I did a scene with him. So I started out with a bang here. I should have stayed here, but I got an ants on my pants and went to Hollywood,
Well,
like a lot of people do.
It happens. I mean, especially when you have Perry Mason, which was shot here, primarily for the entire TV show.
For several years.
Yes. Have you watched the new Perry Mason?
I got in on it, and they got me doing a scene with the star of that, the woman preacher.
Yes.
Yes, so I did full circle.
I am absolutely enamored with that show. Just the noir and how they compose that, and Robert Downey Jr. and his wife's production company. It is coming back for season 2, I understand.
yeah.
Are you coming back?
They haven't asked me back, but
Okay.
we'll see. We'll see.
So what was it like? I mean, like you said, you come full circle. I mean,
Yeah, 30
what
years later.
What was that like? I mean, you getting like,
It was surreal. I thought I can pinch myself. And I didn't want to, shake the boat
Right.
and ask him for a role, but I got hired anyway. And so, it's just one of those things. I was one of the congregants that interacted with the minister, the
Right.
female minister. And
Because
so it
they're
wasn't a
they're
big
buying the
role, but-
land that Perry
Yeah,
Mason's
yeah,
house
yeah.
is on, which I mean it's such a heartbreaking story, but it really fits well with the character and the whole.
Yeah,
the whole
Raymond would
dynamic.
probably roll over in his grave, but
Do you
anyway,
think he would? I mean, because did you ever read the Perry Mason novels? Have you ever read those books?
I have not.
And reading them, I mean, it is kind of very reminiscent of the novels, and it's a little bit before them. So,
Yeah.
what was working with Raymond? What was his approach, and what do you think he would think right now?
Well, he was a person, even if you have a principal actor, he wouldn't talk to anyone below co-star. And David Hasselhoff, on the other hand, was really nice to me and took a picture with me and the whole bit. And so Raymond didn't talk. So I finally found out through production, I can say it now because he's deceased, that he was gay. Nobody knew it at the time, kind of like a Rock Hudson.
Right.
People kept it secret. Somebody in production told me he was gay. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to get him to talk to me. And I said, his partner lives in Healdsburg. He operates the ranch. So I turned to Raymond. I said, how's things in Healdsburg? And he turned to me. He said, well, I don't get home very much. And then after that, it was a little strained, but he did talk to me. And so you can see us coming into the courtroom. He was following me, and he's got this strange look on his face, like you slid him a bit. But
I'm gonna get you.
he did talk to me, so I didn't say a word to anybody else. So his secret was safe. But anyway, he was a nice guy, I guess, but he wouldn't take pictures. I never got one. But Stella Street,
Right.
actually, I have a picture of her in front of the courthouse. And years later, at a convention in Los Angeles, she was there with her son, William Catt. And I went up to her and I said, remember this? She was in her 90s. She goes, oh, Larry, my God, you can be back. And everybody behind me in line is going, oh, you said, they're not real happy. But so, she signed a picture, another picture, and gave it to me. And it was great. She died right afterwards.
Wow.
She's a very nice lady, wonderful person. But anyway, so.
So you have 4 projects going on. What can you talk about? What can you tell us? Can you give us a peek?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm doing one in Colorado Springs. Right after
Really?
the festival, yeah.
Is there a role for you to just kill me? I've been telling everybody so far in the filmmakers. I don't want speaking roles. I don't want to I just want to be killed on screen. That's all I want.
Well, we can see what we can do for
Done.
you.
Excellent. See, you heard it here first. So what do you got going on in the Springs? Tell us.
It's called Let Me Sleep. And I know it sounds like a sleepy film. And for the first half of the film, it is. It's about an older guy who sleepwalks. He goes across people's lawns. I play a little older guy. And then he ends up in their houses. First, they're kind of annoyed / amused.
Right.
And then as it progresses, they become a little more annoyed and then terrified. And then people start dying. And they realize he's not a sleepwalker. He's possessed. And I won't say any more than that. But
Wow.
yeah.
So now
it's
you're
great.
starring in this? Did you write this? Are you directing? Or
No,
what?
I'm just an actor who got auditioned for the role.
Okay.
But I do voices. So I think I got cast on my demon voice. Like, let me in. That sort of thing. And, so I went from I go from a real-time voice, like an older guy, to this demon. And so that's what hooked them. They said, "You
Done.
got it." It was one and done. I didn't even audition a second time, and they cast me 6 months later.
Right.
So I figured, usually I walk away from things. I don't feel the rejection anymore. It's just like it was good to practice. It's like a free free acting lesson.
Right.
When you do it at home, and my daughter takes the thing with a cell phone, and reads with me. But so. Anyway, so that's one, and then I have another one in Chicago called The Evil Three, about the most vicious serial killers in the world, Michael Myers. There's 2 other ones too that you probably know, but they're all locked up in prison, and then they all escape at the same time. and so I'm a little play a deputy sheriff in that. So
That probably doesn't end well for you.
no, I won't. I'll give you that much. But
No.
anyway, so I have to go October 1st and do that. So, you know,
Wow, you're just
turnaround
all
time
over the
is too
place.
much. And I just finished one in LA before I came here
Mm-hmm.
yesterday. The Mahal brothers have something called Camp Pleasant Lake. I play a camp counselor, and it's a kiddie movie. But
Okay.
it's a horror movie at the same time, so I have to wrangle the kids. You know, that's different. You know, I've done
different.
it before. They're fine. They're beautiful kids. So I'm not
They
like
taste
a
like
WC.
chicken, I hear.
Yeah, it's not like WC said. You know, anybody who doesn't like kids or dogs can't be all bad. It's like no, they're fantastic.
Little blonde children scare the shit out of me. I'm just gonna tell you that right now, Larry. They're like,
weren't all
nope,
blonde.
I'm out. Nope, going
Well,
that
they
way.
weren't all blonde, but anyway. Nowadays we have mixed race and everything, and it was beautiful. I thought, yes, we got the whole rainbow here.
Right.
So I love doing it. So another one, God, if I can think of all these things, I did I have something coming up. Maybe in the future. I don't know if it's kind of an iffy thing, so I can't even talk about that.
No,
now,
that's
but
fine. So, out of everything, I mean, impressive. Yeah, God bless, so much stuff. What's your favorite? I mean, what is the one that you're like, no matter what happens, and you always look back, you're like, this was.
I'm glad you asked me that, because guess what? Saturday night from 8 to 9:30 and 9:30 to 11:30, I'm showing two of my favorite movies that I starred in.
Okay.
One was called Pan Man. It's a horror comedy.
Right.
The other one is called Frankenstein versus the Creature from Glen Cove. It's an homage to the 30s and 40s classic
Yes.
monster movies. So I'm going to show both of those. It's a double feature. So everybody come on out.
That is spectacular. Because I am a big fan of the older monster movies. I have a huge heart pull towards like Vincent Price, Abbott and Costello.
Yes.
Because they were the highest paid actors of their day. And
Meets
that's
Frankenstein.
Yes, meets Frankenstein, The Invisible Man.
Yeah, Dracula was it?
Dracula, they were the highest paid. That's how come they could get Lon Chaney and Bela Lugosi,
God,
and all
yes,
of them were
werewolf.
just fighting to
Yeah.
be on the Abbott and Costello.
Oh, I always want to do a werewolf movie because, Lon Chaney played a werewolf his real name is Larry in the movie. And so my name's Larry. I thought, I got to be a werewolf. So I got in a movie called American Werewolf. Or no, not American, Hollywood Werewolf.
Yeah, I was going to say,
It's not released yet. It's not released yet.
Okay.
So it's called Hollywood Werewolf.
See, he's trying to mess with me because I didn't prepare.
James
'Cause I'm like,
Balsamo.
yes. James is downstairs actually tonight.
Yeah, so I'm melting with him and also several other ones, Alien Danger. So they're showing some of those. And yeah, I mean, he's very prolific. He just like churns them out. And so I've been in a couple. I work with Eric Roberts, and the last one I did, and I'm just starring in one of them called Jack Pepper Banshee Hunter. And so anyway, it's my head swimming for so much action lately, and
I can understand. I mean, that's a lot to take on, but I'm excited to see the ones that you're, that are your favorite. Because of course, I mean, there's a lot of like energy and everything that goes into those roles.
Oh, I got to tell you real quick.
Please.
And, I went to Hollywood, and I got started in Denver, and I was working in a salvage yard, and I was kind of grungy and dirty, and I had a long beard, and somebody said, "You're pretty funny. You should either do stand up or get an agent." Well, I did stand up and got thrown out of the club, and I won't even go into that story. But after that, I went to an agent, and the woman actually climbed the chair to get away from me because I was, I tried to clean up as much as possible. But then they hired me anyway. Not hired me, they signed me. And in those days, they could give you lessons and represent you. They can't do it anymore, but they did back then. JF Images in Denver, she doesn't exist anymore. But anyway, so I started getting work like crazy after that, mostly commercials and then print. And then on the strength of the women's club, I went to Hollywood, and there was a casting notice in Backstage West about we want a Jackie Gleason type. Well, I was a big boy because the women's club had me gain 30 pounds because John Candy bailed on the project, so I took over for him.
Okay.
And so I ballooned up to over 200 pounds, and then I kept growing. So I was
can't
2
stop.
So I went and auditioned for a Jackie Gleason lookalike,
Right.
and so I threw the script up in the air like John Madden just to get the casting director's attention, and it was called the Double the Avenger, and so. I started delivering the lines, I knew all my lines, and he started laughing so much he fell over in his chair. I went to pick him up, and he said, "You are the funniest son of a bitch I've ever met in my life. I got 2 guys coming for callbacks tomorrow, but the hell with them. You got the job." He cast me on the spot, and that's how I started in Hollywood. So it's just
That's a great
incredible.
start, especially with Gleason. I mean, Gleason is such a
He was my favorite
juggernaut.
one, so
Absolutely.
I studied him, and I loved everything about him.
Well, I watched his one interview that he did with Carson, and he's chain smoking through like the whole thing. I mean, he had, I swear to God, he had like 5 cigarettes while he's sitting there. And he was talking about touring Area 51.
Yeah.
And Carson is just like glued to the story, and Gleason's just so.
Oh gosh.
So I went to Area 51, and you're like, wait, what?
Yeah. I love those little vignettes on YouTube. You can see, I was like, oh my God. It was one of my favorites. And so I nailed that one, and I did 40 projects with William Winkler after that, and mostly anime. We did 2 features, Double the Avenger, which is a comedy fantasy,
Right.
with Kit Natividad, who was the biggest stripper in the world. And then after that, I did Frankenstein, which I'm going to show.
So are you more comfortable in like the voiceover role, or you like getting out there and strutting your stuff? What's easiest for you?
I love both, actually. But I'm not afraid of the camera, and I'm a very big actor, but I can be brought down. I did Beetleborgs, if you remember that.
I do.
And I went to audition for it, and I was so over the top. The producer said, sarcastically, "Larry, can you bring that up a couple notches?" That sort of thing. So they actually loved my performance. And so I did the last episode of Beetleborgs Metallics. They were going to have me repeat the role of Rudy McDougal, the comic book publisher, but they went off after that. It was the last episode they ever did, or I would have come back for the next season.
Right.
So, yeah.
Were you a big nerd growing up? Were you a big comic book guy? Or?
Yes.
Really?
I had an incredible comic book collection, but when I
Mom
went
threw
to
it out.
Vietnam, guess what? You're right. Mom didn't throw it out. She sold it. She said, "Larry, I got 10 cents a piece. This guy came with a truck, and I sold them all." I'm like, Jesus Christ, I could have been a millionaire. But unbeknownst to her, I hid some of them in a trunk.
Nice.
So I still got them.
Okay.
And they're going up and up and up in value. And I got the original Iron Man, the original this and that, X-Men.
Oh, we need to talk after.
We're talking thousands of dollars.
Yes.
Yes, I did something right in my life.
So how do we follow you? What's the best way to stalk you? Where are you at? Where can we go to see you?
Well, I'm on IMDb, of course.
Of course.
You can check that out. And then I'm on Facebook. And so I'm actually public. So you can chat with me anytime.
Okay.
I'm not private.
Okay.
So, and on Instagram.
What's the name that they need to search for? G. Larry Butler or just Larry Butler?
G. Larry Butler.
Okay.
I got the name G. Larry Butler because when I came to town, Willie Nelson's band leader / actor owned the name of Larry Butler. They said, "You can't have Larry Butler." So I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "In those days you couldn't do that.
Right, you can't.
Couldn't double up."
Yeah.
So I said, "What am I going to do? My first name's George. How about G. Larry Butler?" And people were forced to go, "G. Larry Butler." So my agent loved it, and that was it. It stuck. So to this day, they can find me on a casting sheet. Look for that G. It's like, G.
Excellent. Well, Larry, thank you for sitting with us. I'm excited to see your films and come by the table and see what you got. And,
yeah, thank you so much.
Give them a like, give them a share. Give us a like, give us a share. Yeah. But in the meantime, run fast, laugh hard, and always be kind. Good night.